It's an absolute honor to talk to you. Classic Loki is one of my favorite characters now in the MCU. I just love this character that you're playing. He's so awesome. I love his costume and everything. Richard, the tweet you put out about your father and the costume was what it warmed my heart to think about, like you at that age wanting to be an actor and doing these things, and then obviously where you are now. Can you elaborate on that tweet and kind of what that meant to you?
My father died when he was 53, when I was 24 years old, and he said to me shortly before he died, he was very, like any parent, he was concerned that I would not earn a living as an actor. And he said, do you really want to spend your adult life in tights and makeup? And I said, Dad, it doesn't, if I'm lucky enough to make a living out of doing this, I won't have to be in makeup and tights all the time. Well, All I sit before you is a 64-year-old man, Kevin, wearing makeup and tights and talking about that. So, but I have earned a good living out of it. So, there's been sort of poetic justice in it. I think you would have been amazed at what has actually transpired in my career. I think he would have been very surprised by that.
You posted a great video on your Twitter with Owen Wilson, and it made me think, Kevin Feige is so secretive about everything that happens with Marvel. I'm even surprised that you're able to have a camera or your phone to even do videos on set or take pictures of your costumes. When you do something like that, do they say, Richard, you can do this, but you can't post this until the episode comes out? Are they strict about what you take?
You have it printed across every call sheet and your contract and everything. You cannot post anything. You cannot expose any information about this whatsoever. Otherwise, you might require new kneecaps. Being able to post it after the thing's actually been aired is a great relief. And because you find out that you haven't been cut out of it completely. And that you can share the behind the scenes stuff, which, I'm such a geek, that's a nerd about all this stuff. I love seeing when other actors do it. So I know that, it has that response. And I love working with Owen. He is hilarious. I don't know if you interviewed him, but he is so laid back. He is more Owen Wilson than Owen Wilson. I just adored him.
In terms of binging, I appreciate the fact that Disney Plus releases these episodes week to week. To me, it's like my wife and I watch the episodes, we digest them, we talk about them, we have conversations about them. It reminds me of growing up with my parents watching like Seinfeld week to week or Friends week to week. Are you someone who binges everything, or are you do you like to do the week?
Binges everything. It infuriates me when something is episodically stretched out. It drives me insane. I want it here, I want it now. Yeah. I watched Breaking Bad, I think all of it over about 75 hours, almost in one stretch, with a little bit of sleeping in between.
Richard, that might be the greatest show of all time. So much so that I got this tattooed on my body because it is the greatest show ever made.
They're great. Absolutely extraordinary actors. Yeah. Brilliant.
I wanted to ask you how much you built into the character that we don't know, his life, because it's so interesting that we learn a lot. Like we learn about bits and pieces about who these other variants are in conversation, but how much do you build in?
Absolutely nothing at all. It's all scripted.
It's all scripted.
It all comes from the script. And the only thing that I was absolutely gutted not to have, because the costume designs had them, I had muscles. So I thought that I was stepping to a fabulous muscle suit, finally, having been born without any. I can see you're enormously blessed with huge biceps yourself.
So of course, Richard, of course.
You know what I'm talking about. So when they gave me this outfit, I said, well, where's the muscle suit? And they said, no, you don't have a muscle suit. And I said, I need a muscle suit. Jack Kirby's drawings, Classic Loki from the 60s, he had muscles. I said, no, you're not having any. And I was very disappointed about that. But apart from that, everything else was scripted. And I had no input in that whatsoever. So I can't actually answer your question.
Well, Richard, this has been an absolute pleasure. My first time speaking with you. You are an incredible, incredible actor. You are a wonderful addition to this series. And please keep making amazing work, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Great video collection.
Oh, yeah. I got 1,600 of them back here, man. Full physical media.
Yeah. That shows how old you are.
Yes, it does. I'm 83, Richard. I'm
Yeah,
83.
exactly.
Yeah. See you next time.
Mine is all streamed, you see. It's all
It's all binge and digital back there. Thanks,
yeah.
Richard.
See, this is a question that I'm very interested in asking you because I was looking through your IMDb. I know you've done like over 600 credits. It's amazing to me, all the voices that you've done. I was curious, is there something similar that happens in your process each time in terms of finding the voice for the character, how you're going to actually perform it? Is there a process to finding how you want to fine tune it?
Well, the first auditions are always done in my home studio, and you'll get a drawing of the character, a character description. Sometimes you'll get a show Bible and sides, which are part of the script. And then I have to sort of try and imagine how production would want that to sound. And I'll lay it down in my studio if it takes 5 minutes or 3 hours until I'm happy with it. And I'll usually lay down 3 different versions based on the information they give me. With that said, then you go to the callback stage, and then they'll say, okay, now we've decided we want her a little bit older, or a little bit chubby, or maybe she has braces, or maybe now she's a boy. And you have to be ready to play around with that character. And with that said, sometimes things change completely on the day. Like when I was auditioning for Teen Titans, I thought initially I was going to book Starfire because this character description said she's an older Bubbles. Well, I'm older Bubbles, so I'm definitely going to book that. And at the time I was doing like 5 different sort of dark tragic teenagers, and I thought, how am I going to differentiate her from the others, as well as Batgirl for the same network? And I just relied on the acting in that moment. I left the studio, and then I turned to look at Andrea Romano, the director, and I said, can I try one more thing? And I just had this idea to do this weird role whenever she spoke, and they're like, that's it, that's Raven. So I think you have to put in your time and your work and be conscientious, because there's hundreds of people auditioning for each role, and then you have to be willing to sort of be putty with production and play around and be organic.
How did you find this one particularly? How she was?
Yeah. This one was trickier because I didn't get all that information in advance. I had very limited information on who she was. I didn't know what the show was for. I called my agent trying to get more information about who this character was, and they didn't know anything else. I didn't know what it was till I booked it. And then when I was working on it, I was on Zoom with production, and Kate, who's so brilliant, was speaking to me about who she was. And I originally had laid it down a few different times, one time with the accent, which they really liked. And we would play in each scene, and we would play as we go to sort of gauge where her level of happy, sad, demonic, where she would be falling in all these different scenes. And it was a very collaborative process.
You know, it's interesting to me that you now have voices in both the DC and the Marvel universe, which is kind of a really cool thing. And I guess might be a stupid question to ask, but is there a difference for you in terms of the way you do them? I know you're playing a character in each one, but it's got to be cool to be a part of both universes, I think.
Yeah, and I've been part of the Marvel universe in the animated world for a long time. Stan Lee came in to do Spider-Man when I was Mary, and it was so much fun. Mary Jane, sorry. It was so much fun to work with him. And I remember saying to him, like, what's your secret? Because he was like 96, running around looking great. And he said, never retire and do what you love. And he loved what he did. And that shows, he created this world of imagination for generations. So I feel like very honored to be a part of it in any way. But now joining the cinematic universe is even more exciting. And in terms of is there a different process for a DC or a Marvel character? Not really, because you're coming at it from an actor's standpoint, right? Every character I think of, I imagine them in my mind. I imagine I'm in those scenarios. I'm in those moments. So I wouldn't, as Batgirl, say, oh, now I'm a DC person, and as Mary Jane say, now I'm a Marvel person. I would just say, I'm this person. Does it change from the cinematic to the voiceover? Yes, of course, cartoons are always a little bit more over the top, and this is a pretty real adaptation of this world. So everything has to be adjusted depending on the universe you're in.
I'm curious in terms of physicality. You're playing a clock. I mean, it's so interesting to me because we actually have the clock on our wall. They sent us the TVA clock.
What? I want to see that.
It's upstairs. I'll have to get my wife. I'll see if I can get it. But I genuinely wanted to ask you about the physicality. When you're voicing a clock, do you do the physicality at all as you're voicing it? Clearly, it's not a human, so it's like I'm just wondering, like, how you find the way you're going to carry your body when you're voicing her.
It is true that when people are in an animated studio, if you ever got to watch a session, no one's just sitting there straight. They're moving within the parameters of the microphone so that the sound is the best quality, but you still have some kind of physicality. So if she was going like this, I may have gone like this, or if she's thinking, I may have done some of that, but I don't think she's a clock. I think she's she's a person, she's an entity. She's describing what happens in each moment. Again, it's all when, a lot of people say to me, oh, I really want to get into voiceover. Do you have any acting experience? You have to come from an actor's background and know how to bring these characters to life with your voice and in your imagination. So when I'm Miss Minutes, I'm this girl, this woman, not a clock. I don't think of when I'm doing My Little Pony, oh, now I'm a horse, or an alicorn. I think I am this being.
Wow. Well, I really appreciate the way you break down your process. It is incredible. I can't wait for people to actually see this interview and find out how much work goes into what you do. It's really incredible what you do. You're a phenomenal talented actress.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
It's nice to talk to you. And next time I talk to you, I'll show you the clock. We have it upstairs.
Okay. Go get it.
All right. Bye, Tara. Bye.